Welcome to Player Profiler today. I'm your host this evening, Jake. You can follow me on Twitter at LouisLewis5. Welcome to a new year of 2025. What are some of all your guys' goals? Mine, I know I want to win more fantasy championships than I did last year. I did win 4, but I want to win more. A great way to help achieve this goal is to follow myself and all of us here at Player Profiler. Another great way is our all-in package. With this, you get Dynasty Deluxe, DFS Dominator, world-famous draft kit, data analysis, and player rankings. So be sure to get on that. You can join it now. I believe it's $135 for the rest of this year, or you have it until end of January in 2026. Be sure to get on that and join us here at Player Profiler. In today's show, though, we will be covering Black Monday. It's code for all the coaching changes that have happened or going to happen. In addition to changing the coaches, I will cover a player that wants out of the current situation. Finally, touching base on the draft order. And since that's been, the end of the season is, we do have the current draft order. With that, let's get fantasy. Before I get too far, though, I want to look back at Week 18 injuries. This has some key postseason irrelevance, and there's going to be one that's into next year. We'll start with the Green Bay Packers. Christian Watson suffered a non-contact injury that revealed he tore his ACL and other ligaments. He's obviously going to miss the Packers championship run, hopefully. Green Bay, yep, step it up. But I think he's going to miss 90%, if not all, of next year as well, which by then he will be a free agent going into after his rookie contract. He's such a dynamic player. You can't rush him back into coming back from his ACL. I mean, if you do, you could have setbacks. I mean, just ask Jonathan Brooks a couple weeks ago. He came back, they did slow and steady, but such a dynamic and, all that force pushing off one leg, and he retore his ACL as well. The Packers also had Jordan Love that injured his elbow too in this game against the Bears. He did not return. They said he could have returned, but didn't want to risk it with further injury. While, I was watching the game, it looked like he could grip the football, and then every time he threw the pass, he'd always wiggle out his arm. It looked like it's just discomfort. I mean, they do have a week until they face the Eagles next week Sunday, and I think it's just more nerve. I'm sure it's probably going to go down with the swelling and inflammation and everything. And speaking of Eagles, they rested all their starters in Week 18. Sounds like Jalen Hurts is still in the concussion protocol. I expect him to fully clear for this game against the Packers, but just something to keep an eye out for. Another playoff injury is John Mechie III for Texans. He suffered a concussion, so it looks like he's probably going to miss next week's game versus the Chargers. Usually, you suffer concussion, you miss the next game. It's just unfortunate. And rookie Blake Corum will miss the whole postseason run for the Rams with a broken forearm. It's unfortunate for the rookie. I thought he was going to have a better game, and unfortunately he got injured. But that does look like all the injuries going into the wild card weekend. But now for the top story, the coaching carousel. it's just, all over the place. There'll be plenty of changes for 2025 season, and most of them will start with the coaching, whether it's head coaching, defense coordinators, offense coordinators. During the season, we lost 3 head coaches jobs: New York Jets, New Orleans Saints, and Chicago Bears. So these jobs are already open and ready for whoever to come in and take. Yesterday, the New England Patriots didn't wait for Black Monday to fire their head coach after one season, Jerod Mayo. After winning a game against the Bills, we saw this 2 years ago when Lovie Smith and the Texans won their last game. I think it was a 2-point conversion. He scored it. They lost the first overall draft pick, and they at least waited until the plane landed and fired Lovie Smith then. Well, for the Patriots, they fired Jerod Mayo after about an hour after the game. They let him go. They went from pick number 1 to pick number 4. I would have loved to see them have that pick number 1 and trade back and just gain more assets. It would have been beneficial for the Patriots, and I really am a huge fan of Drake London as well. But I think one of the reasons why they fired him was there's some smoke screening of Mike Vrabel looking to interview with the New York Jets. So I think the Patriots really want Mike Vrabel, and I think that's who they're going to hire is Mike Vrabel. I just see them going as a defensive-minded coach, just like they had, but I just see him being a lot better than Jerod Mayo. I think also when Bill Belichick left, I think he kind of like, oh, here's my next in line, my replacement, Jerod Mayo, kind of like what Bill Belichick has now in North Carolina. I think he has in place once he retires, his son gets a head coaching job for a season at least. And maybe that's what he kind of had worked out for the Patriots. I mean, who's to say? But I think they go hire Mike Vrabel coming up. And then this morning, Jacksonville Jaguars fired Doug Pederson. The Jags finished 4-13 on the season, earning them the 5th pick in this year's draft. The Jags finished bottom of the pack in pretty much every category, from defensive categories to offensive categories. Doug Pederson, to me, was on the hot seat. I mean, you could look back at me and Mike talking about, I don't think he was going to come back from London with a head coaching job, but he finished out the season. He was on, the hot seat. But in 3 years, finishing 22-29, Pederson won the AFC South title the first year and has since then lost a bunch of games, leading especially this 4-13 record to his firing. Who or what type of coach do I see next year for them? I see a defensive-minded coach. I think, honestly, Brian Flores, the defense coordinator for Minnesota, gets this job. That's just my opinion, to boost up this defense. He'll probably get some kind of, branch tree of Kyle Shanahan or somebody to run the offense and help build Trevor Lawrence into a better quarterback and continue fluorescent and, give Brian Thomas Jr. the ball. We now have 5 head coach vacancies currently, 2 that's on the hot seat currently and that are staying put as of right now. The New York Giants are keeping Brian DeBall as their head coach. They hold the number 3 overall pick, most likely looking for their new franchise quarterback. And DeBall had, in his first season, had Daniel Jones looking like an actual starter in this league, but easily phased out and fallen off and not even on this team anymore. So with the Giants, they will have to find a quarterback to help them win. Otherwise, I'm talking about Brian DeBall next year being fired. The other staying put in Indianapolis Colts, Shane Steichen. The biggest need for the Colts and Steichen is, again, they need better quarterback play, just like the Giants. Richardson is very concerning for me. He is very raw coming into this league, and he is not accurate at all. I mean, I think he got beat out by Joe Flacco, in my opinion. He was a lot better and moved the ball and the offense as a whole. And now he's being reported to have back issues, saying, oh, I had to crawl around my house just to get from point A to point B, is a huge concern to me. I just don't like it, but they have to figure that out. Otherwise, like DeBall, we're talking about Steichen being fired next year as well. Two coaches, I believe, who are on the hot seat, and we're currently waiting on their future of what's going to happen, is Antonio Pierce for Las Vegas Raiders. He said in an interview that he doesn't know what's going to be happening. It's a toss-up. He hasn't been told if he's still on the team next year, what their plans are. So I think they might wait a couple more days. And the other is Mike McCarthy, Dallas Cowboys. He's getting Chicago Bears are requesting to interview Mike McCarthy for the head coaching job, just in case if Cowboys decide to move on, which they very well could. But in my opinion, I think they just were filled with injuries. Toward the end of the season, they started getting all their players back. Micah Parsons was not injured, and they started playing a lot better, winning games. At the beginning when Dak went down, they look like the season's a tank and get whatever pick you can, and they can just continue to win. Chat, what do you think? What is going to happen to these two coaches specifically, or who's going to fill the other vacant spots? I want to know. Drop it in the comments and let me know. Next, who wants out? I'll cover that after a word from the Podfather.
Oh, incredible news about Fast Draft. Fast Draft DFS is live. It's called the Flex 6 Frenzy. You just draft 6 guys, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends for the Sunday slate. You like Jahmyr Gibbs? You like Jackson Smith-Njigba? You like Tyrone Tracy? Draft him. And the beauty is you can just order 5 teams, submit your rankings, and Fast Draft will email you the results. We awarded $1,000 in prizes our first week, and we're just going up from there. Soon there's going to be a select 6. No drafting at all. You just pick any 6 guys. Our DFS mantra, just say no to salaries on Fast Draft. Don't forget there's free tools on Fast Draft too. You want to get ready for startup season? We've created the best Dynasty mock draft experience there is. And if you want to play in these DFS contests and our best ball contest for 2025 coming very soon too, just use promo code PODFATHER when you deposit and you get a free draft. It's that easy. And you're like, oh, I already have Fast Draft. Great. Refer a friend. Have them put your username in as the promo code, and then you and your friend will both get an instant deposit match up to $25. We got DFS. We got Dynasty Mocks. We got Best Ball. It's all there for you on fastdraft.app. Check it out. And the promo code is PODFATHER.
Yeah, definitely add Fast Draft app. You could also get the promotion on my code, Louis Lewis 5. That's LEWY LEWIS, the number 5. We want out, bro. That's big news coming out of Miami from the Miami Dolphins. Their top wideout, Tyreek Hill, wants out of Miami. During his post-game speech, he said, I'm opening the door. I'm out, bro. It was great playing here, but at the end of the day, I got to do what's best for my career. I'm too much of a competitor to just be out there. He also doubled down the stance with a tweet right after that. Love Finn Nation. Blessing y'all opening or y'all open doors for the Hill family forever. Nothing but respect and love. That's just crazy. It's hard because, he's such a great guy and good player. But he now, just before I jumped on, he tripled down and changed his Twitter profile picture to the Antonio Brown, taking his shirt off, leaving the field, doing the peace sign to the crowd, walking shirtless off the field. And he photoshopped his own head onto that, or Antonio Brown's body. He's gone, He wants out. This man is gone. Chat, where do you see him ending up next year? Because there's so many different possibilities, but he's not going to be in a Miami uniform next year at this rate. He just restructured his contract also this past offseason, which is huge. So making him very hard to trade, in my opinion. Like next year, he's, I think, only accounting for like, 32 million, which is a top rate, going forward, top rate for wide receivers. But in 2026, he's got a $52 million cap hit. But do you see him getting released and, giving him the choice to pick? I think Miami, I think they have to trade him, but give some kind of contract of, hey, we'll pay X amount of dollars for him just to make it wholesome for everyone. But what places do you guys think that he's going to end up? A couple of places that I think would be crazy for him to go. Buffalo Bills. Giving Josh Allen another number one receiver would be pretty freaking sweet to see again. But Bills are in Dolphins division, so I don't see that happening. My second favorite place would be with T. Higgins set to hit free agency. How about the Bengals? Having Chase and Hill would create one of the fastest duos in the league, and Joe Burrow would light up the scoreboard just like he did this year. Or my favorite place, of course, because I'm biased, would be the Green Bay Packers, but it makes sense. Gives Jordan Love an alpha receiver, and also with Christian Watson probably missing all next year, it does make sense to me at that point. But honestly, it's hard to say where he's going to go. He's probably going to come up with a huge list of suitors and where he wants to go. What do you guys think? Let me know in the chat. And the last story I'm going to cover today is the draft. The top 10. I'm going to do like a top 10 mock draft. It's way too dang early, but I'll do it. But Titans, you are on the clock. With the 2024 season being done, teams will be switching gears and looking into their offseason, which team will go from zero to hero. This past year was the Washington Commanders. You see it every year, like a top 5, top 10 team, draft team, literally go from top 10 to now being in the playoffs. Every year you see at least one team. This year, Washington Commanders. I mean, you could say Denver Bronco, they're number 12, but still, you could see that. Also, with that being said, the NFL draft order is Tennessee Titans number 1. They'll be getting the number 1 pick in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I might be there. I know a lot of us from Player Profiler actually go to the drafts, so tune into that. With that saying, I'm going to give you my too damn early top 10 mock draft myself. With that, also, do you see Shedeur Sanders going to Nashville as the franchise quarterback? I think he's the number 1 quarterback in this year's draft. A lot of people don't like him. A lot of people don't like this draft class at all for quarterbacks. I'm saying Shedeur Sanders is my number one, but does he go in Nashville? I think not. To me, I'm thinking Travis Hunter gets drafted by the Titans, and the Titans will. I think they'll get a veteran somehow. I don't know who, but I'm going to say they're going to sign a veteran. I mean, they're next in line for Sam Darnold, in my opinion, as long as Minnesota should bring him back as well, but never know. The number 2 overall pick is the Cleveland Browns. They also are looking for a franchise quarterback, but I don't think they'll be doing that this year. Spent too much money on Deshaun Watson, who just reported to have a setback for his Achilles. So perhaps they sign Jameis Winston back. I think they should, just because, you know what? Screw it. Just go out, tank, whatever. Get Archie Manning next year. He's going to be a top 3 draft pick next year, Archie Manning. And this year at number 2, I'm going to say Mason Graham out of Michigan, a defensive lineman. I think they give Myles Garrett some pressure release, and he goes there. Now, with that being said, also, the first quarterback coming off the board, Shedeur Sanders, goes to New York and joins the Giants. I would love to hear Sanders to neighbors for years to come. That'd be awesome. And also, you already heard before, Deion Sanders wanting his son to go to a certain team. This makes sense. It's a bright spotlight for him. What bigger market to shine than New York? The number 4 overall draft pick would be the New England Patriots. They had the number 1, but they won against the Bills. Should have never done that, but unfortunately they did. But with this pick, I see them going to Will Johnson from Michigan, the cornerback. Having him paired up with Christian Gonzalez would be one of the best corner duos in the league, in my opinion. Also, it makes sense because you look at their division. You got, the Jets, which who the heck knows what they're doing at quarterback, but you got Miami that loves to pass the ball. You got Josh Allen that passes the crap out of the ball. It makes a whole lot of sense to cover these guys, maybe bring in another defensive line or linebacker also. Yeah, I really like that, especially if Mike Vrabel gets that head coaching job as well. Jacksonville at number 5, I see them going with an offensive lineman, either Will Campbell from LSU or Kelvin Banks Jr. from Texas. They need to protect their future. They need to protect their quarterback. And what better way than an offensive lineman? At number 6, Las Vegas Raiders draft Cam Ward out of Miami, Florida. They are going to try and get their franchise quarterback. I don't know if he is, but it's a huge upgrade than Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew. But it's a huge upgrade for Brock Bowers and any of these receivers for the Raiders. At number 7, New York Jets select pass rusher from Penn State, Abdul Carter. He'll fill their pass rush void that they were trying to get with Hassan Reddick that they even want to play this year. I don't know. Didn't like his contract, but I think he fills the void and he gets you that pressure that you need on the quarterback. At number 8, though, Bryce Young. Let me tell you, first of all, Bryce Young, 5 touchdowns in week 18. Ever since he got benched and restarted, he's just been a completely different guy. And he's been slinging the ball and he's running the ball. I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns yesterday as well. I really like him, how he's been progressing. And maybe we found something there for Bryce Young. But how do you help Bryce Young grow to the next step? I think you get him some wide receiver help. I understand Adam Thielen but he's like 34, 35 years old, whatever. He's getting old. You struck out and missed with Mingo, Xavier Legette. I think that was just a terrible pick. You should never even happen, especially you traded up to get him. So you look at the wide receivers, Tet McMillan out of Arizona. Maybe. McMillan is 6'5", but my main concern with him is his separation. So with that, I think I'm going on a limb. He's going to blow the combine out of the water. He had a down year this year. Luther Burden III is going to get drafted in the top 10, I believe. And it starts right here with Bryce Young. Get him almost like a Jamar Chase. I'm going to say it's more like a Garrett Wilson type player. He could play slot. He could play outside. He could play receiver X. I think he's going to be a top 10 draft pick, and I select him here at number 8. At number 9, New Orleans Saints. They need pass rush, and I think they go after raw talent and select James Pierce Jr. out of Tennessee. They're losing a couple of pass rushers like Young. Can't remember a couple other guys, but they're going to lose Chase Young. There we go. I think they're going to lose a couple of those guys. So I see them looking right at that position. Get a guy that's kind of raw. A lot of times, if you look back at mock drafts before the year started, he was like number 1 or number 2 overall drafting. So I see that happening. And finally, my last early top 10 pick is the Chicago Bears selecting whatever offensive lineman falls, either Kelvin Banks or Will Campbell here. Caleb Williams is not going to be effective if he's always laying on his back. And he was sacked so many damn times this year. Let me know, who do you think gets drafted in the top 10? Who did I miss? Who do I hit? And what did I just screw up on a couple of these? I don't know. Let me know. But that is a wrap on today's episode of Fantasy Profiler Today. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to subscribe and follow for more expert analysis and fantasy tips. Remember to follow us on Twitter for all the latest news and notes. Also, be sure to follow me on Twitter at LouisLewis5, and I'll catch you guys next week. Peace.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.